Liz, welcome to Art and Cocktails. I am so excited to have you on the show and so excited to talk about your journey, your gallery, and your work in the arts. Welcome.
Thank you. This is going to be fun. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited. And I actually have heard of you and I kind of got to know you on the internet even
Yeah.
before I started working with you as an artist. So
Yeah.
it's been really cool to see you grow and support so many artists. And for our listeners, could you just tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. I own Liz Lidgett Gallery in Des Moines, Iowa. We represent 60 plus artists from around the world. We have a commitment to representing at least 50% women artists to help combat some of those really terrible statistics about the art world. We really focus on joyful, colorful, um, interesting, unique artwork. We sell primarily originals. And, I have this heart for making art accessible. It's something that's incredibly important to me. So we ask that our artists continue on with their practice of whatever size and price amount that they're normally working within. But we also ask them to make smalls for us. So we have artwork that ranges from $250 to $25,000. I completely understand $250 is still a commitment. I mean, I'm not comparing pocketbooks or anything like that, but I really do want people to feel like an original piece of artwork is in their reach. And it's also kind of a gateway, right? They get to have the access to artists that they truly love. And then they build up to a point where they can get to that, maybe that next step, that next level. I'm so happy that I get to work with clients that are building their art collections. And I'm so lucky that I get to work with these incredible artists because they are so talented. And to be able to go into work every day and live among their work is so special.
Ugh, it's so special what you do, not only for the artists, obviously having a place like that supports and has this beautiful mission is so beautiful, but for collectors, I remember the first work of art I bought was probably around $200.
Yeah.
And you're right, like at some points in our life, or, in many people's cases, that might still be a lot, but it's so
Mhm.
accessible. You could plan for that. And I just thought that was the most exciting and thrilling thing. So I remember like being able to buy art for the first time. And then later on, like you said, I was able to invest into bigger, more expensive work. But that is such a beautiful thing. So thank you for the work that you do for the community, both collectors and artists. How did you get started as a gallery owner? What was that? How did that begin for you? I would love to hear your journey.
Sure. I was an art advisor for 5 or 6 years before I opened the gallery. So I started out working for corporations. I was doing their collections, and then people started calling and saying, would you do my own personal collection? Would you do my restaurant? That sort of thing. And so it just really started to expand the variety of places that I was buying artwork for. And through all of that time, buying a lot of artwork and helping people, I just saw that, well, why does anybody start a business, right? It's like you think you can do it better. And I felt like I knew I couldn't change everything about the art world, but I knew that I could do it right in my own home. That's how I feel about raising my kids too. It's like I can teach them to be good, right? And so when I was looking at starting the gallery, Tina, who also works at the gallery with me, she's head of operations and the gallery, and she and I just had started working together, but I could tell she was incredible. And so I came back from maternity leave and I said, let's start a gallery. And she is very much, we laugh all the time that her phrase is happy to be involved. She's like, let's do this.
I
So
love that.
we did it together, and we s- the anniversary, 5 year anniversary will be in May, and it's just flown by. We had been open for about 8 months before the pandemic hit. So we really thought that we were going to be more hyper local. We wanted artists from all over, but we were really focused on bringing those artists to Iowa at first. People were walking in. We're in a really incredible, dynamic area of downtown Des Moines, this revitalized historic area, East Village. And so lots of people are out walking around shopping, and then all of a sudden they weren't. So I kept going into the gallery and I just started filming videos about why I loved the artwork. First of all, I think that passion is contagious. And I feel really enthusiastic about the artwork. I hope that comes across. Um, and then also, I just knew that people weren't going to museums and they couldn't be in galleries and they weren't around artwork the way that I had the opportunity to be. So I thought, what if I could be like this bright, beautiful spot? There wasn't really that much more planning to it at first than that. I just wanted to show beautiful work because nobody else could see artwork at the time. And people started paying attention, which was great. I think that, um, showing up and putting your own face on camera is something that people are really interested in. They want to connect with people. They want to connect with art, of course, and they want to see beautiful things, but they want to connect with a person too. They want to connect with that entrepreneur or that artist. And so it doesn't always feel comfortable at first, but I always say to my friend Chelsea, you got to find your light and start talking. And that's really all it is.
Yeah.
You can't overthink it, right? You just got to talk like you're talking to your friends. And then the other thing too is that as our Instagram number started to grow, I just felt so thankful that I had the opportunity to talk to 25,000 people about artwork. And that, if even if I could have gotten into a room of 100 people, I would never not take that opportunity. I'd always want to be able to share and talk about our artists and our artwork. So to have that social media has been pretty incredible. So now, fast forward, we ship about 80% of the work that we sell. Um, we shipped artwork to all 50 states and 7 countries last year. So you know, the pandemic really changed how we worked, and social media has changed that. I think for a lot of businesses and a lot of artists, they're also really thinking about, okay, well, how do I get beyond Instagram? Because, there was a day last year that Instagram was down, and it's like, how do you get to your customer, right?
Yes.
And so, we are really working on a lot of different things. We go out on podcasts, right? We get to have awesome conversations like this. We are really working on our newsletter. I think everybody's hyper focused on their newsletters right now.
Love
Just
that.
all of those things, that the names and the things that you actually can own yourself.
Thank you so much
So,
for sharing. It's so
yeah.
inspiring. And I just want to ask you too, because it's so funny. I kind of accidentally built my business that way too, where I'm not like I'm near Philadelphia, but I live
Yeah.
in like a more quiet town. And I
Mhm.
used to assume we had to be in New York, we had to be in Los Angeles to build
Right.
businesses or careers. What surprised you when you started shipping your work, like the work from the artists that you were selling all over the world? Was that exciting or was it new? Or was that like a natural transition for you? How did that feel?
I was I was blown away. The first time that somebody bought a piece through Instagram, it was maybe like a $2,000 piece. And they just, DM'd me, send me an invoice. This happens now today all of the time. This happens on a daily basis. But at the time, it hadn't. And I was like, Tina, like, what? Are we sure this is a real person? So, I was just blown away and I was so thankful. And I think we have built a reputation now, both with clients and with artists, that we have a vast network, and it
Mm.
all was built through social media. Um, I love that when people stop in the gallery, we've had so many people say, "I'm going on a cross country road trip, and I know you were the only person I knew of in Iowa." and
Oh
we're
my
st-
gosh,
and they
that's
stop in.
true.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So we get to meet people that way too, that we have like create these internet friends like you and me.
Yeah.
And then we get to work together in different ways, which is incredible. Social media gets a really bad rap, but it does have these really bright spots. And I feel really thankful that we have built this community of people, whether they're buying or not, they're just excited about artwork and they're excited about our artists and they want to support them, whether it's just like resharing or it's buying our artwork. There's so many different ways to support an entrepreneur or an artist that don't actually involve money too.
Absolutely. Any share, any comment, any engagement is so helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go back to something you shared, and thank you so much for highlighting that. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I love social media for the connections and the friendships, and it's
Yeah.
just important to check in and not obsess over it when it breaks down or the algorithm changes or whatever. I
Totally. You got
think
to go
there
touch some
are
grass sometimes. Yeah.
there are so many things with it that are obviously can be improved, but we are grateful that it worked for the
Totally.
things that it did. But when you start chatting with collectors, say on Instagram or maybe even email, what are some ways, where what are some topics or what are some questions that collectors ask about your artist? That's something that I'm curious about, both as an artist and I know our community is too. Like, what goes in the minds of the like what's going on in their head when they see a piece they love? Like, what kind of conversations do you have? Would love to hear that from you.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about a lot, and we're thinking about for our marketing a lot more, is that people want to both connect with the art, but also the artist. And people are interested in being really educated about that. And I love that art education point of it. Like, I just have such a heart for it. So, um, what I always really encourage our artists to do is even share, if as long as it's not like a proprietary or secret thing that you do, if you can even do far away videos of you creating, if you can share more about you. So you say, like, I'm outside of Philadelphia, and somebody's like, I grew up in Philly. I need a piece from that area. It's like sometimes it's as simple as this like one fact that I'm giving them a lot of information a lot of the times, and I'm trying to tell them a lot about the artist and the process. But it's really important about who the artist is too, because people connect with artwork on so many different levels, right? And they want something that when they have their friends over and they're having a dinner party and they say, oh my gosh, that piece of artwork is so gorgeous. And I'm like, that's Hillary Howarth. She's from Nashville. And it's like, it's all of these things that I want to be able to tell them about. And it's these like kind of simple one sentence things that the average person is going to be able to repeat and share and connect with.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. That's what I tell my artists, to my clients, whom, in their membership and coaching. It's like
Yeah.
just sharing your story. That human connection goes beyond. Of course, we instantly connect with something visual,
Yeah.
but when something else ties you in on an emotional level, it's done, it's sold. So I really
Totally.
love that you
Yes.
share that. And you are very passionate about art and supporting your artist. How do you keep your energy levels up? Because I know being a business owner is a lot, and sometimes you just don't feel like showing up, but you always do. So, what are some of your routines
Well,
or rituals to help you stay motivated
right
and
off camera is my
inspired?
Diet Coke.
Fair enough.
I'm fueled by it. Um, I also think that I do really try and take time for quiet, so that when I need to show up, I can show up like at full level, right? Tina or Monica, who work with me all day long, may tell you differently, but I don't think I go around the gallery like bouncing off of the walls. But when I'm talking to somebody, I can get it up. I'm like selectively very outgoing. But I think that creatives need quiet. And I think that they need those moments to like really, be in their mind and work through things and all of that. So I try and give myself the times to be on and then times to be off as well and be intentional about that. There are times where I'll look at the girls and I'll say, I got to write right now. And I can't even be around anybody else. So like I really like I pick up my laptop and leave. So I have the privilege of being able to do that. I know that not everybody does, but that's something that works for me. And then also I try to be really intentional about moving my body. So
Yeah.
as artists and then as a gallery owner, I think that it is so overlooked, like how physical our jobs actually can be. You're getting up, you're lifting things all of the time, you're working with tools, you're sitting in the same spot for a long period of time. And so being really intentional about moving my body outside of work too has been something that has really helped me like just keep my stamina up.
Thank you for sharing. Same thing. Just taking even 30 minutes a day to do something, stretching,
Yeah.
walking, going to the gym, it saved
Mhm.
my life so many times.
Totally.
It's easy to just keep working, especially there's no boss telling you you're done for the day. It's just,
Mhm.
it's always, we're always kind of on. Thank you so much for sharing that. And in terms of how do you find artists? I know you probably get this question a lot, but I love thinking beyond Instagram. Obviously, sometimes we'll see something that really inspires us, but are there any places that you've discovered artists beyond the gram? Because I think so many times people in our community are so obsessed, like, well, I don't have a big audience. How am I ever going to get discovered? But were there other locations or media sources that have caught your eye? And if so, what are some qualities of artists that you look for when you start working with them?
Sure. So beyond the gram, because that is a huge spot. I mean, I do also go on to Pinterest. There's a bunch of interior designers that I think are incredible. So I look to them for inspiration. I look at like Domino or Elle Decor magazines I really love. Um, and then, one of the biggest things for me is when an artist that I already represent says, I really want you to look at this artist. Because that to me says what, like, okay, if we back up a little bit, like the way that artists are being able to sell on their own. There is an argument out there. There are people like Ashley Longshore, for example, that are like, absolutely, I sell for myself. I have my own gallery. I don't need a gallery. And I totally respect that. But I do think, obviously, I think that there is this incredible atmosphere that a gallery can create if it's the right gallery. So that means that your work is right next to another piece of artwork that helps viewers see both pieces in a completely new way. And people don't live with 47 pieces by one artist. So they need to have that visualization, I think, of how this work of artwork connects with another work of artwork. So I think that, there's so many different things. I think that there's like community building and feedback, because being an artist can be so solitary. So I think that there's so many reasons to be in a gallery. But when an artist comes and says, I want this artist to be in the room with me, that is like the biggest point of sale, right? Like, another artist respects this so much that they want to be, and they think this is the same level and they want to be near it. So I always give extra attention to when one of our artists says, I want you to take a look. It's not always right. It's not always right for us, but we have brought on several artists because of that. And then we have brought on several artists because of, the cold emails and the submissions. At first, we didn't bring anybody on that way, but I think that we have built a reputation for a specific style of artwork. And it is so important for artists to do their research when they're submitting. I
Absolutely.
I can tell when an artist is just doing like a blanket email, right? Or when they are saying like, okay, I love these 7 artists that you represent. I have interacted with them in this way. This is why I think that my art is right for your program. And they really give me that information. I open up emails all the time and I think to myself, have they actually looked at the artist we represent? Because this doesn't fit at all. I'm not saying it's bad artwork. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it's not the right fit. And it's going to be so important for you as an artist to find that right fit. Just because you know that Liz Lidgett Gallery sells a lot of artwork doesn't mean it's the right fit for you, because that doesn't mean that we have the right clients for you. And I hate that feeling that we're holding art hostage.
Thank you for
I
sharing
I
that.
I
Yes.
really believe that this feels a little woo-woo, but I believe that every piece of artwork is made for a specific person. And it is my job to make sure that that person sees it.
Oh, I
And
love that.
so and connect them with it. And if I don't, if my artists don't have that clientele or that viewership that are connecting with it, then I'm just holding on to artwork in our storage.
Mm.
And art is meant to be seen.
I
So
love that so much. And you
there's,
can tell
yeah.
too when you are sorry to interrupt you,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
but I got excited because when you show up on Instagram stories and you're sharing a new piece of art, you have to be able to get excited about it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, your process just won't work. It will
right.
put a dent in the way that you flow in your business. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I
Yeah,
love that.
absolutely. So that's that research is really important to me. And then you know, we have I have people that stop me at events. They hand me business cards from other artists. I mean, we get submissions in a variety of different ways, but we review quarterly all of our submissions, and sometimes we take two or three artists and sometimes we take zero. It just depends on where our roster is. Um, we have a pretty good track record of staying in relationships with our artists. So we are getting to a point where 60 artists is a lot. And I want to make sure that we are giving proper time, wall time, and my own personal time to them in the ways that they need. Some of our artists are very hands off and they don't really need it. Like they've got their process. But then other artists are newer to the game and they really want some feedback. And again, being an artist can be incredibly solitary. So making sure that you are with the right gallery that can give you that feedback is important.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I agree with everything you're saying too. And that's how I kind of talk about in my community too. I'm an artist that started by selling my own work,
Yeah,
mostly because at the time I didn't have a choice. I didn't have anyone to sell
right.
through. But over time, I learned that there's definitely merit to both. And that community piece that you brought up about like artists even recommending their friends or someone they admire. That has happened in my business too, where an artist I loved I invited to the podcast and they said, "Hey, here's my friend. She's amazing. Here's like
Yeah,
she has a show here." And
totally.
that builds trust, eliminates that weird competitive energy in the art world, and it just makes us feel safer in our spaces. So I really love that you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you for the tips too. I think doing that research and making sure you can flow with the gallery as well as all the other artists in there is such a beautiful thing. So
Yeah, it is. When that synergy is there, when we know that we've got clients for your work and you're excited about working with us, and I'm a huge believer in communication, which is why, I mean, Kat knows that we do a end of year survey every year. And I know very, very, very few galleries do that, but it is so imperative to me that we have that communication of, um, are you satisfied? Are you happy with what's happening right now? And if not, let's take this moment in time to talk through if this is something that we actually can help with.
it
There's
was
not always
a
something that
very
we can
nice
do.
touch. I have never
Yeah,
seen
thanks.
that before.
Thanks. It's something we started doing a few years ago. And then at the end, a few weeks later, at the beginning of the year, I send out a video to all of the artists and let them know kind of like what's going on ahead and what the previous year was, and that we really are reading through the comments. Like, I don't want to waste people's time. So, um, I mean, all of that is to say that when that connection is there with the artist in the gallery, it's a beautiful thing. And you
Mm.
both can be incredibly successful when the right connection is there.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I agree. And it's been a pleasure working with you. And I'm so
Thanks.
grateful. And it was really beautiful to see how energetic and communicative and supportive you and your team really all were incredible. And
Thanks.
I want to hear your thoughts on this before we wrap up for the
Yeah.
day. And I would love to hear this. This is something I personally believe in. It's kind of my own philosophy is like when you work with a gallery, I do think it's important personally to me. This might not be everyone's opinion,
Yeah.
but to do your part. So if you're represented by a gallery, like doing your own share of marketing, it might not be on the level that the gallery is able to do. But what are your thoughts? How do you feel when artists like help support the sale or share it with their newsletter? Is that something that you appreciate as a gallery owner, or do you prefer to kind of take ownership and do your own marketing and just let the artist make the art?
Thank you for asking this. I I love it. I think it's incredible. I mean, I notice when it happens and when it doesn't happen, quite frankly. There are plenty of times where ha- we do a monthly show, a group show, and then we do several releases online throughout the month and the year. And there will be many times where we have artists that have a sellout release in minutes, honestly. You had that.
Yeah, this is really, really cool. Thank you.
But many of them were our clients, right? And I think that's wonderful too, because I think it shows that what we did together worked. So we try and do as much as possible, but if you can give us any sort of behind the scenes, we're not there in the studio with you, right? So if you can do us any videos, short 20-second videos of you behind the scenes, or you talking about why that artwork is important to you, or you talking about why you titled it that, is, oh my gosh, it is that extra additional piece that helps connect. I can always be excited about the artwork that comes in our gallery. I can talk about it, but when you can give that thing that I didn't know, that is like when it comes together and it's the perfect partnership. When that doesn't happen, sometimes it's still beautiful artwork and we can sell it, but I can always tell and I remember who did the marketing and who didn't, who was
Mm.
excited about their own work and who wasn't.
I love that. I thank you so much for sharing that. It's something that I deeply believe in just because I think it's
Yeah,
good karma too, right? Like you want to be able to sell yourself. And I notice
totally.
too, I watch celebrities when they have a movie, they don't just sit back, they go on all the podcasts, they talk about it, they're on
That's
the
a great
night
comparison.
show.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. That's a great
Yeah.
comparison because they they want to be able to do the next show, the next movie, right? Like, and I think that that's what's happening too, is that when we do the marketing there and it sells out really quickly, we now have a list of people that want your work, right? And
Mhm.
so that couldn't get to that last release. And so it just creates this snowball that's rolling down the hill, um, of people being really excited and knowing more about your work. There's also that idea in marketing where it's like people have to see things 2, 3, 4 times before they really want to move forward with the purchase. And so they're seeing it from me, they're seeing it from you, they're seeing it from me again. And then it's like enough is there that they're like, no, wait, I really have been thinking about this piece nonstop for a week. I have to go. I have to go get this. It has to be mine. So
Mm.
there's a lot, I think there's a lot of psychology about it too.
100%. I love that. Well, Liz, this has been so magical, and I'm so
Yeah,
excited to get to know you more on this episode.
same.
Thank you for your time. Tell us what's happening at the gallery or in your own life. How can we support you, and what's coming up next for you?
That's awesome. Thank you for asking that. We have an announcement every single month this year for our 5-year anniversary. So
Ooh,
we're going to be doing a lot of really fun things. We are doing some new partnerships outside of the gallery world, but trying to make art more accessible in fashion and in just like home decor and all kinds of really cool things. So we're really focusing on that. You can always take a look at Liz Lidgett Gallery on Instagram and lizlidgett.com so you can see all of the artists that we represent. We have this really fun button that just says discover. So you can go through every single piece of artwork that we have and it shows what's new at the top. So it's a great way to see how much artwork we intake over
I'm
time.
literally going to go do that now. That sounds so fun.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's all kinds of really fun things if you look under that artist tab. But yeah, I love interacting with people. So you can always send us a DM if there's something you want to see. We'll talk about it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so
Thank you.
excited to see what's next at your beautiful gallery. And thank you for all the work you do for the art community and the art collectors.
Thank you.